Welcome to Dynasty Life. I'm Theo Gremminger. Redraft ends, the Super Bowl ends, but Dynasty is life. And this is a YouTube-only special that I'm dropping. I dropped one of my Dynasty trades last week, and I'm also going to be bringing in guests that I really respect in the Dynasty streets to drop some of their trade targets. We're going to get you ready to supercharge your Dynasty rosters all offseason long right here on Dynasty Life. And today I'm joined by a friend of mine, Jeremy Popielarz. Jeremy is the head Dynasty content creator over at FTN. Jeremy's dropping rankings. Jeremy's dropping articles. Jeremy's dropping podcasts. Jeremy had a chance to come on to Futurecast with Matty Kiwoom and I, and we did a rookie mock draft a couple weeks ago. It was a lot of fun. Highly recommend that one. But Jeremy, how are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing swell. The Super Bowl's over. We don't have to hear about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce for a little bit, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, we could talk about Dynasty, and that's what's on. We just got the combine list, so that's exciting, breaking through there, adding a couple people we got to look at prior to the combine, but, a lot of fun. Like you said,
Yeah.
Dynasty's life and digging in and grinding as hard as we can.
Yeah, and this is prime trading season. The combine is right around the corner. We have franchise tag days coming up. We have free agency right around the corner. There's always going to be a couple of sneaky trades that we're not anticipating. You already get like the funny rumors out there in the streets. There's a Brandon Ayuk trade rumor that's probably complete nonsense right now, but you start to get those things. So today, Jeremy and I are going to drop 6 Dynasty trade targets that you should be going after and trading for right now. And we're going to give the guest the first trade target. And I was really excited when you put this player on the show sheet from your hometown Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, you got to stay home for one of them, right? Stephon Diggs. No, joke.
No.
Maybe he's in the cells, probably out there for somebody, but I'm going with the running back, James Cook. I was in heavily on James Cook in the offseason last year. Luckily, that worked out for me. I really liked and thought the way that he was going to get used was more the way that Joe Brady used him than Ken Dorsey did. But we did see him kind of come on late of the season. Huge bump, obviously, when Dorsey was gone. He really kind of pushed at the end of that half of the season and really gave us a heavy production of fantasy points. But on the season, running back 11, 12.4 PPR points per week. Well, half PPR points per week. 9 top 24 finishes. And really, when I look at running backs, I look at top 24. You can argue at other positions, maybe it's deeper, but really at top 24, you're talking like 8, maybe 6 points per week when you really look at that down there, that deep into top 36. So I really try to avoid that as a statistic, in my personal opinion, when you're looking at running backs, even though we do play in a lot of deeper flex leagues nowadays. But 9 top 24 finishes, 5 RB1 weeks, really productive running back there. And he wasn't even scoring touchdowns. That's what was really surprising, but it was really kind of a workhorse for the Bills. 62% of their running back carries via FTN data. He had 54.5% of their snaps. He had a 12.7% avoided tackle rate, which was decent. Wasn't great, kind of a little bit above middle of the road, but 27.6% opportunity share. He was really kind of the workhorse for the Bills. The big issue for the Bills, I think, moving forward is their salary cap currently set to be one of the worst as far as in the negatives as we head into 2024. And the Bills are going to have to do a lot of work. And I don't think that that's going to be bringing in any of these running backs. I think you're going to kind of see what they have at the backfield, and maybe they keep, Ty Johnson, someone like that, or maybe they draft a late guy, kind of a thumper to kind of pair with James Cook. But I really think James Cook's going to have to be their guy, and I think that we'll get something very similar to next year. And maybe someone's still not believing completely in James Cook due to the size. So
I love it. I love the James Cook call. I think that he's one where he's a really, really strong pivot trade where you can trade down and pick up pivot down from another running back, get James Cook and something else. And he's also the kind of guy that, like, when we see him is as more of the focal point for the entire season, like you bring up Stephon Diggs. Diggs is going to be a year older. There's some question marks there. I love that one. So you gave us James Cook. I'm going to give you maybe next year's James Cook and Tai Spears. And I think Tai Spears, like, it's a low-hanging fruit because he's already steamed up big time. Talking about a guy who's up to running back 18 in underdog. But it's because of the receiving ability he displayed as a rookie. He had 52 receptions, very much like Rachaad White in his rookie season, flashed as a receiver, then takes a big step forward in year 2. We bring up James Cook, another running back with receiving ability. Tai Spears is also effective running the ball, average 4.5 yards per carry. I mean, he just looks the part. When tape doesn't lie kind of guy. Really, really looks strong. I like the Brian Callahan addition as a coach. I think it's going to be more of an offensive-minded franchise. There's already some like rumors of Tee Higgins. I think that the writing's on the wall that Tennessee is going to try to improve the receiver position. But I think Tai Spears being the man there at running back, I think he's got low-end RB1 potential next season. Who's your next guy, Jeremy?
And talk about, the disappointment, you could argue. One of the disappointments in the wide receiver class this past season in Jackson Smith-Njigba wasn't overly a disappointment for me. The numbers weren't overly there. Did have 8 top 40 finishes from week 6 on, which is kind of when he really kind of started to come on. Only averaged 8.2 half PPR points. So we're not talking dynamite here, but it's really what I project to be what happens here in 2024 and even potentially 2025. He did manage 93 targets in this offense still with 63 receptions for 628 and 4 touchdowns. Still productive. But we saw Tyler Lockett, now going to be 32 this year, has an out in his contract if Seattle chooses to opt into that. We saw Tyler Lockett kind of fade out a little bit there at the back half of the season. I wouldn't say he's totally washed, but there's definitely potential that the Seahawks decide to maybe move on at this point in time if they try to get a little bit younger with the new regime in place. Lockett's seen over 239 targets with Geno under center. If there's a slight philosophy change, I think that you could even see more passing, if not the same volume out of the Seahawks offense. I don't think we're going to have that run-heavy offense that we have kind of projected them to be under Pete Carroll. So I could see that getting a little bit better, obviously opening up a ton of targets that'll have to be spread out. Not saying they're all going to go to Jackson Smith-Njigba, but it's likely that he gets some work, DK gets some work as well. And I just think Lockett's kind of underneath abilities was really going to help him in this situation and be a very favorable PPR type of target. And again, like the underlying numbers, he only had 1.33 yards per route run and then 1.21 air yards per route run. So again, those advanced statistics that we kind of use to like project some stuff don't look overly great for JSN, but I wanted to mention them to just say, like, I still think that that's a little bit more of the situation than actually JSN being how talented he is. I think the tape, when you watch him, kind of proves through that he's still going to be a quality asset, probably maybe more like a top 24, top 36 type of guy. I don't know if he ever gets to top 12, but still a very productive type of receiver that I want to get in on. And I think his value is probably significantly lower just because of that down season in year 1.
No, for sure. JSN, I love the offensive coordinator landing spot with Ryan Grubb ending up in Seattle. I think that's a positive for the passing game there. And I'm going to go with the wide receiver as well. And this is a high-end guy. You're not going to get him cheap. This is a guy that has the top NFL draft pedigree. This is a guy who's had, 2 massive seasons for fantasy. But it seems to me like the market for Jaylen Waddle is maybe the cheapest it's been since he was drafted. Like right now, he's going off the board as wide receiver 23 on Underdog. He's going behind Malik Neighbors. He's going behind DK Metcalf, going behind Michael Pittman. And I think this is kind of indicative of where the marketplace is treating him. Now, in Dynasty, people still are not going to let you get Jaylen Waddle for cheap. But if you think about what he cost a year ago versus what he costs now, there's a great chance that you could see a huge Jaylen Waddle rebound season. His targets were down to 104 this year. But this is a guy that we saw with 140 target season as a rookie. So we know he's capable of that in terms of getting behind the defense and making big plays. Jaylen Waddle, we know he's got that. This is a guy who's had, 3 seasons with 1,000 or more receiving yards. This is a high-end dynasty asset. But I think trading for Jaylen Waddle now, this might be like a chance to get him for 80 cents on the dollar versus what he would really cost you based on his talent and profile.
Yeah, I honestly, I love that one. I would agree. I was not buying him once they brought Tyreek Hill in just because of Hill, again, another year older. I mean, there's at some point Jaylen Waddle is going to reassert himself as the top guy in that offense and can do pretty much everything Tyreek Hill can. So I like that. And much like Jaylen Waddle, my other player that I have here for you is Tee Higgins, another guy that battled injuries this year and kind of has soured to dynasty managers, so it seems. Potential is that he's gone out of Cincinnati this year. We've seen some rumors already alluding to a franchise tag potential. Either situation, Tee Higgins is going to be fine. Doesn't matter where he's going to go. He's either going to go make a bag somewhere and be kind of their top receiver, or he's going to stay in Cincinnati and just feast off of secondary coverage based on Jamar Chase getting all of the top end corner talent over there. Tyler Boyd's likely gone if they keep Tee Higgins, just because, again, another team that's kind of strapped a little bit of the cap. They're probably going to bring Charlie Jones inside or something. Likely not adding anybody else, I would think. Burrow's finally, hopefully, going to be completely healthy, which is going to be a huge boost. We've seen this offense produce high-end wide receiver numbers for both Chase and Burrow at the same, or Chase and Higgins with Burrow under center. In just 2022, he was wide receiver 18.5 PPR with 14.9 per week. And we talked about it a little bit before we hopped on here. Like Tee Higgins just last year was, wide receiver 1 talk here in Dynasty. He was fringe wide receiver 12, 13, and a lot of consensus rankings, I would probably say. And at this point, he's been soured a little bit based on just injuries to both himself and Burrow. So I think at the moment, Tee Higgins is a pretty valuable asset that you can probably go get that's only going to get increase in value as the long term goes on.
I love it. I mean, we're talking about elite talents, guys that have longevity, guys who've had multiple strong seasons. And they're getting kind of punished for just basically for no reason, just because of the marketplace. And for me, I'm going to give you one that is not cheap, one that you're going to have to buy high on. But I'm buying high on Jordan Love. This is a guy that I really wish I would have invested in a lot more last summer. But this is the kind of guy where I feel like he could take a really big step forward in year 2 as a starter. We saw the rushing ability where he rushed for 4 touchdowns this year. We saw over 30 passing touchdowns. We saw over 4,000 passing yards. And he did this with an unbelievably young receiver core. Not only did he have youth at the wide receiver position, he also had youth at the tight end position. And he was also missing Aaron Jones for a large portion of the season with injuries. So I think that there's a chance that Green Bay is in the market to bring in multiple weapons to help out Jordan Love, because they don't have any money invested. People look and they see the Jaden Reeds and the Christian Watsons, and Dontavian Wicks and Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave and say, they're going to let those guys take a step forward. But they have the cap space, and they also have, the lack of money invested in these positions that you could see them in the market to trade for or sign a free agent. And I think they could go right back to that receiver well in the draft. They had a lot of success with Jaden Reed. Christian Watson certainly has had his issues, but he's had a bunch of impactful games, and they nailed it with Dontavian Wicks and the 2 tight ends. So I feel like Brian Gutekunst, all of a sudden we like his decision-making in drafts. It's a very weird change, Jeremy, but we're here. So I believe in Jordan Love. I believe in where the franchise is headed. And we saw the guy, play 7 really strong quarters of NFL playoff football, which I think will resonate in terms of the comfort level and the trust that LaFleur is going to have in him next season. So we're there. We give you 6 trade targets. We're 2 days past the Super Bowl, and we're dropping trade targets. You got to love it here on Dynasty Life. Jeremy, let everybody know where they can find your work.
Yeah, head on over to X, Popes FFH. It's POPES FFH. That's pretty much where you can find all the links, all my stuff. But all my work is over at ftnfantasy.com if you want to head over to the website instead. But if you're on Twitter, go ahead, follow me there, and then you can get all the links to all of my stuff there.
Awesome. Highly recommend Jeremy's work. It's fire. It's really, really strong stuff over at FTN. And stick with us here at Dynasty Life all season long. We're going to get you ready for your rookie drafts, get you ready for free agency, get you ready for trades. You name it, in Dynasty, we got you covered. Have a great rest of your week.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you, allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.